My name is, for those of you guys that haven't met, my name is Josh King. I'm the Assistant Director for Athlete Career Development, but I also work with business finance. Tonight, Ashley Bodie, who's our Exploratory Career Advisor, she's going to run the presentation. So I encourage you guys, if you have questions throughout, definitely feel free to put those in the chat. We'll have some time for Q&A as well. But, we want this to be interactive and as helpful as possible to you all, especially since it is a smaller group. And just know that this will also be recorded. I do encourage you to put your cameras on if you'd like, but if you're not in a situation where you can, don't worry about it. But on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Ashley and we'll get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Hi, everyone. As Josh said, my name is Ashley Bodie. I am the Exploratory Career Advisor. I've been with Davidson just shy of a year. I started in March of last year. And for those that are sophomores or junior seniors, it was exactly a week before we went virtual. So most of my interactions and engagements have been via Zoom and the virtual platform. To echo what Josh said, if you have questions, feel free to ask those. I have created a brief presentation that I hope won't take the full hour so that we do have time to engage in some Q&A. This is, for you all as you are trying to explore careers. And so I want it to be as helpful as possible. So if there is something that you want us to go back and answer or focus on, please either drop it in the chat or feel free to unmute and ask. And you can stop me throughout the presentation as well. Okay. Let's just get everything pulled up. Are we able to see my screen? Awesome. Thank you. So, how many times have we been asked the loaded, dreaded question? What do you want to be when you grow up? Or have you thought, well, what do I want to be when I actually grow up? That's a question that, you may get 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or you may pose that question to yourself. There have been moments throughout my career where I've asked myself, well, Ashley, what do you really want to be when you grow up? And that's something that will likely change as you evolve and you mature professionally. So don't feel like there is one firm answer that has to be for that question of what do I want to be when I grow up. It's a difficult process. It is one that is not going to be a sprint. It is a marathon, and it's going to take some time for you to really dive in and do some hard work, inner self-reflection, some research, some planning. Career exploration is something that doesn't happen in a bubble. So you really have to go outside of yourself and include others in that process. And it's something that starts early. It started with your very first class at Davidson. And if we're being completely transparent and honest, it started before you even arrived at Davidson in experiences you had in middle school and high school. So with that being said, we'll keep on moving. So like I said, the career exploration process is going to be a 4-part process: self-assessment, identifying your work values, conducting career research, and creating a plan. Self-assessment will allow you to learn more about yourself. Being self-aware is probably the most important when it comes to choosing a career. It's important so that you can consider your personality and the environments in which you work best. When you're thinking of careers, you need to be sure to think, am I shy? Am I introverted, extroverted? Do I consider myself a people person? Would I feel restricted if I had to sit at a desk from 8 to 5? Or would I rather be able to move around, travel, and engage with people? These are all important parts of what makes you you and should definitely be considered while thinking of jobs. So The first part of self-exploration or career exploration is going to be learning more about yourself. That'll include learning more about your personality, your interest, and your skills. There are some assessments that the CCD currently offers that will help you in those endeavors. The Myers-Briggs Strong Interest Inventory and Clifton Strengths. The MBTI or Myers Briggs helps you to assess your natural preferences for how you make decisions and view and interact with the world around you. Whereas the Strong Interest Inventory will help you to assess your likes and dislikes in a variety of areas to help you connect your interests and possible career paths. And then finally, the Clifton Strengths allows you to learn about your greatest strengths based upon your talents. So when we think of personality, we start to think about who you are and what makes you different from others. Career exploration is an important search for a career that works well with your personality. So, for example, artistic people are more likely to be successful and satisfied if they work or if they choose to work in an artistic environment with other artistic people. An artistic person may not do so well in a science laboratory. There is, and if you're not familiar with it, there is a way to identify your personality by what's called the Holland code or the RIASEC. And it's a 3-letter code that is made up of an individual's 3 dominant personality types out of 6 possible choices. And this was developed by Dr. John Holland. So when we think of the RIASEC, and the initials of which each of those stand for, you have realistic. Those people are typically skilled at working with tools, machines, electronics, plants, or animals. And they value things that you can see, touch, and use. Whereas those that are investigative like to solve problems and are typically good at math and science. Artistic individuals like to express themselves creatively through art and generally avoid highly structured or repetitive activities. Social, those are individuals that like to help people, typically good at teaching, counseling, or nursing, and then they value helping and solving social problems. Enterprising, those individuals typically have a high deal of leadership skills and they enjoy leading and persuading people. They value success in politics and in leadership. And then conventional, those individuals like to work with numbers or records. They typically avoid unstructured activities and they value success in business. So, in looking at that list, you probably have a good idea of what your top 1, 2, possibly your top 3 would be, and that would form your Holland code. That Holland occupational theme is a theory of personalities that focus on careers and vocational choices. It groups people on the basis of their suitability for the 6 different categories. And so you could take this information, although there are quizzes out there to help make sure you have accurate information, and you can plug that in and see the different careers that are available or that are best suited for someone that is in a social category or the conventional category. So when you think about interest, this is also going to be equally as important as your personality type. You have to be mindful of the things that you like doing. Have you ever considered, going into a career field where you wouldn't necessarily like the work, but you are considering it for other reasons, whether it be pay or family influence, or it's something that you've heard of? While you may be successful in that role, you likely won't have high job satisfaction or career satisfaction. So make sure you're thinking of things that you like doing. Also consider what challenges you, and then think about what experiences you've had in the past that you enjoyed. What are things that you're inherently good at? These are all of the things that you want to consider when looking to explore different careers. With your skills, again, think about what you're good at. This could include skills you have formal training for. It could be skills that you've learned while you were volunteering. It could also be skills that you have developed from involvement in social activities. So you'll want to take time, again, do some self reflection and inventory your experiences. I encourage each of you to think back on what activities you performed while volunteering or if you've done an internship. Also consider what your hobbies are, what your education background has looked like, and those things that you enjoyed or you felt like you did well. So, work values. We all know that we have our own individual values. There are our morals and values, things that help guide us on our day to day, but there are work values that will influence your career choice and your job satisfaction. So when you think of work values, do realize that those can change over time. There are work values or things that you may value now, but may not suit your personality 5 years from now. There may be something that you thought you valued when you were in high school, and now that you're in college, it no longer is of importance. So, whenever you're in the process of making effective decisions, your values will come into play. People who work in a job that is consistent with their values typically have higher job satisfaction rates than people that are in jobs that are not consistent. And so there's two different types of work values. There's intrinsic and then there's extrinsic work values. Intrinsic work values have to do with the actual task involved with practicing a particular job. So that could be helping others, doing challenging work, being a leader. So take some time to think about the job functions, the roles within an actual career that you want to see fold over into your career. And then extrinsic values, those are concerned with the byproducts of an occupation or a job. In other words, they refer to what you get out of your work rather than what you put into it. So that could be high earnings, recognition, job security. Again, you want to take that into consideration because that can help guide your career exploration process. If you know that it's important for you to have high earnings, then that may cause you to steer away from a certain type of career. Or if you're more interested in helping others, then you may avoid a career that doesn't allow you to interact with individuals. Once you've done self-reflection and you have a better understanding of who you are and what you are seeking in a role, then you'll be able to start doing career research. When you think about the career research portion, that's what's going to link you to potential careers based off of your experiences, your dreams, and your personality traits. Your experiences, skills, interests, passions, and values will all impact your likelihood of finding an occupation choice that's good for you. And that's ultimately what career exploration is about. So, in order to conduct valid research, you should check out Davidson offers to you through the CCD and Handshake two really helpful resources, vault.com, and I can show you that at the end of the presentation, as well as what can I do with this major, both of which will provide you with quality career information, tell you personality traits that are required to help you be successful in the role. On vault.com, they'll focus on the outlook, also talk about the educational levels, and provide you with a career ladder or career pathway. With what can I do with this major? If you've selected a major and you selected that major because it's something you enjoy and you're also good at it, but you're not really sure of the different careers that are out there for you, then what can I do with this major will be an amazing asset. You basically can click on any of the Davidson majors and it will provide you with a list of careers or occupations based off of industry and field. Also, there's a ton of information on the internet, but two quality resources that you can trust and utilize are the Occupational Outlook Handbook and onetonline.org, both of which will help give you the outlook for the career so that you know whether you're entering into a role in which they expect to see hiring growth. Will help you to know what the average salary is, especially if earning potential is one of those extrinsic values for you. And then it also helps you figure out educational levels. And then the final thing that will help you really learn about careers is taking the time to read different job descriptions and analyze them. You will be learning from the companies in which you hope to gain employment with, and those job descriptions are not necessarily going to be a direct reflection of the work that you'll do with the company, but it will encompass the majority of the tasks, duties, roles that are assigned to you and that you're responsible for, helping you to determine whether this is something you could see yourself doing long term. So again, things to consider: those educational requirements, which goes back to the self-awareness piece. Are you interested in continuing your education? If not, or if you want to postpone continuing your education, then you need to ensure that the careers you're looking at require a bachelor's degree. Earnings. What's the average wage? Is it something that's going to be sustainable for you? Fringe benefits. What's being offered to you outside of your salary? Health insurance, 401k, tuition assistance. These are things that I didn't necessarily think about coming out of college, but these are also things that are going to be important to you as you progress in your career. And sidebar, these are items that you can negotiate when you start to receive your offers. So it's important to consider what that company offers outside of just your base salary. The nature of work. Does it match up with what you want to do? Are the work conditions suitable for you? The number of hours. That's huge. There are some companies and some employment opportunities that require you to work 60, sometimes 75 hours a week. Are you okay with that, or would you like more of a work-life balance? If so, being aware of the type of hours that they're working on a daily basis or a weekly basis is something that you'll want to research. Also, think about the environment. That goes back to, are you willing to be confined to a desk? Do you want to work outside? Are you okay working in an environment if it's snowing and you have to go outside for a project? And then think about that job forecast, or the job outlook, which is the forecast of the change in the number of people employed in a particular occupation over a set period of time. So when you view that job outlook, they will typically let you know they expect to see a 10% growth or 2,200 jobs added over the next 2 years. That allows you to know whether you will be in a good place coming out of school and be able to secure employment. Lastly, think about location. I 100% encourage you to be open and to, be willing to go anywhere. But in order to have a more targeted approach and focused approach so that you don't overwhelm yourself as you're trying to do this research, it's good to have 3 top locations. And then if an opportunity becomes available outside of those 3, then definitely consider it and take advantage of it if it's your dream opportunity. But at least start with just your top 3. So we have to create a plan, right? Now that you have a potential list of careers to explore, the next step is to get more detailed information. What types of skills do you need to perform the job? Do you have the ability to perform the task? Is the occupation going to maintain your interest? What does the labor market information say regarding the occupation? One thing that I think it's important for you to remember as you go through this process is to remember that the industry and discipline are very different from the position and the role, and that's also very different from the job function. So with that being said, you could be interested in like fintech, but want to do marketing, which would be a job function. So you would end up with a position or a role that could be brand management or something along those lines, but has the job function that you're looking for, just within a different industry or discipline. So with creating your plan, go ahead, like I said, and create that focus list. Again, not to limit you, but to help you focus and concentrate on a specific either 3 to 5 cities, industries, or job function. It also allows you to be intentional when you're networking, when you're job searching, and then later in your interview process. One way to maintain or to ensure that you are staying focused is to create a document to track what you're doing. So if you, say, for example, are interested in living in Charlotte, maybe you are interested in living in San Francisco, which is completely different. And then maybe you have an interest in New York. Jot those 3 down. Figure out what those top 3 job functions are too, and figure out positions or roles that you've seen based on your analyzation of those job titles, and jot those down. And then you can start to see and research different companies and opportunities that are out there that align with 3 areas in which you're interested in. That way you can keep track. Also, start networking. Talk to people that are already working in your field of interest. If possible, job shadow. Davidson typically has a great job shadow program. It's been put on pause due to COVID, but there are ways for you to create your own job shadowing opportunities if you and the person that you'll shadow feels comfortable. Also, consider mentorship. This is a way for you to not only build your professional network, but have questions answered that you won't be able to find published anywhere. Get insight from someone that's in the field. They may also be open to allowing you to have that job shadow opportunity. They will expose you to individuals that are within their network, and you will be able to learn the inside scoop, if you will, of the role that you are potentially considering. Internships are also another great way for you to explore a career. It's a way for you to try out a company, to try out a role in a short-term, limited commitment option. It's essentially going to be a summer. Occasionally they have like a winter break internship opportunity, or you may be able to do like a remote internship, especially now due to COVID, during the semester. But that's a great way for you to, one, learn the inside workings of a company you may have an interest in, but also to do on a smaller scale the work that you hope to do long term, and decide, is that a good fit for you? Maybe you think now, like, well, I wouldn't mind sitting at a desk from 8 to 5, or I wouldn't mind, being up and around all day, every day. That's the perfect way to decide which one fits best for you. And then start skill building and developing yourself professionally. And we'll talk about that on the next slide. And then conduct informational interviews. Again, more information to come on that. So with skill building, skill development training is important for leading the competitive edge. Skills development is the process of identifying your skills gaps. So maybe you're interested in a role and you need to know how to navigate Java, but you currently do not. That could be viewed as a skill gap. So go ahead and take the steps necessary to teach yourself how to navigate Java so that you no longer have that skill gap. Also, it's an opportunity for you to develop and hone in on the skills that you may already have, but they are more of beginning level stages. It's important for you to determine your ability to execute these skills and your plan with success. So, in order to do skill building, there are numerous platforms, but one that you have access to free of charge through Davidson is linkedinlearning.com. If you haven't checked it out, I would encourage you to do so. There's some great courses on there. There are some that are more technical and business focused, but there are others that will help to develop those soft skills, like those people skills. If you want to figure out how to be a good leader, that's there. If you want to learn how to network, there's resources for that available. So definitely check out LinkedIn Learning. Also, say at this point you feel pretty confident in the roles or the industry in which you hope to pursue, consider attending a conference or joining a professional association. There's typically student rates, and you can join that and be surrounded by those that are already in the field. Again, building your professional network, because 70% of jobs don't have the opportunity to go live or go public for posting. They're being filled through the power of networking. So, any way that you can build your network and get connected is going to be a win win for you. If you haven't already done so, create a LinkedIn profile, which will again help with your networking. And then consider joining a club or an organization on campus. Go to Wildcat Sync and find an organization that's related to your career goals. There's pre-business society, there are financial investment banking type organizations. So if you have an interest, see if there is a student org that aligns with your interest and join that. Again, helping to expose you to the career, but also building your network, which, if you can't tell, is like gold. You definitely want to do that. So, informational interviews. Informational interviews are meeting in which a potential job seeker asks advice on their career, industry, and corporate culture of a potential future industry or job field. So basically, it's a meeting between an individual who wants to learn about a specific career and one who has firsthand knowledge about it. This conversation provides you the opportunity for you to ask questions, again, that you won't be able to find anywhere. And they're a great way to gather information and build your network. In order to find individuals, especially the Davidson alumni population, create an account on Davidson Connect, and then again, using your LinkedIn and going to Davidson College. But that will be a way for you to conduct informational interviews and find information aside from the information you will find when you do your own research. Again, remember that this is a marathon. You have to be patient with yourself, and then embrace the journey. It can be easy to get frustrated as you try to go through and do your research and be in tune with what you want, when that could change from day to day. And so it's easy for you to get frustrated, but take the time, do the work, connect with individuals, utilize our office. And once you go through that cycle of self-reflection, in-depth research, and then creating a plan and a step-by-step guide that you want to follow with different benchmarks, then you should find yourself at a place where you're able to better determine what career is a good match for you. Again, like I said at the very beginning, the career that you go into upon graduation may not be the same career role, career field that you're in 10 years post graduation. It's ever changing, but that first job out of Davidson is for you to learn. Right now you're paying so that you can learn. And you will, with your first job, be in a role where you're being paid to learn. And during that time, take the time to really focus in on what you like about that role, what you thought about the management style, and the things that you didn't like, so that you can take that knowledge into the next role that you go into. So I was able to nail my time goal here. I wanted to keep it at about 30 minutes so that we could have 30 minutes worth of dialogue and demonstrations if necessary when it comes to online platforms. So Vault, what can I do with this major, LinkedIn. So at this point, I am going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see your faces and open it up for conversation and dialogue.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes,
And thank you for your presentation.
of course.
I'm currently a freshman, but say a student currently thinks he wants to go into a certain field, but after they declare their major, they want to go in a drastically different field. What do you think
Okay.
they should do in that situation?
So what sparked that change? And if this is like too personal and we need to talk offline, then we definitely can do that. But was there something in particular that sparked that change?
I'm currently a freshman, but I was thinking because I'm interested in math and music,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard that many people who major in math realize that they don't actually like it once they
Okay.
take higher level math classes. So I was just wondering if I had that situation, what
would
should
you
I do? Yeah.
Gotcha. So the beauty of attending Davidson and receiving a liberal arts, education is you have the ability to enter into fields that are not necessarily going to be directly correlated to your major. You can, if you start to realize that you're not necessarily interested in pursuing a math related career, you can help shift your trajectory by doing internships in your new field of interest or volunteering, having mentors, figuring out what transferable skills you have that would be beneficial in the role in which you hope to now pursue if you do find out that math is not desirable any longer. But during your time at Davidson, we will likely have another panel or so, but we often have panels where we feature alums that have untraditional paths to the career in which they currently have. And so most recently, we did a panel last week actually with individuals that graduated from Davidson that are now working in the marketing sector, but may have majored in political science or majored in English. English is more of, you can see that connection more so than political science at a financial institution doing marketing, but they were able to hone in on their skills, use their networks, take their internship opportunities and experiences that they had, and tailor their resume in a way that made them appealing, which is the beauty of a liberal arts education. And then once they determined that marketing was the route in which they wanted to pursue, if they chose to, some of them did go on to get their MBA. One person in particular that I'm thinking of, I believe majored in political science, taught for Teach for America, and then ended up doing strategic partnerships. So again, not a linear path. And career exploration and job searching rarely is. It's more so going to be the roller coaster, because if you think back to what you thought you might do when you were 5 and compare that to what you thought you may do at 10 and maybe 14 and now, there's been some drastic changes likely. We very rarely get it right at 5 and end up sticking through it. So it is more of the roller coaster effect. And so it's just a matter of tailoring your documents, doing that skill building and professional development so that you can fill in those gaps that you may miss as a math major hoping to pursue another career.
I also put in the chat that link that shows our career outcomes, so you can see the last couple of classes. So I'm just going to share that real quick just to show what that looks like. So if you go to that page, you can see her up at the top. You can pick the class years from the last several years. You can see where they were at within 6 months of graduation. You can see the 5-year comparison geographically. You can see where you're at. And that's all great, but I think, by industry for grad school, employment. But the really cool thing here is you can go by major. So if you're curious, like, what does a math major do? You can see, we have a lot of people that are not in, obviously we have some in STEM, but there's also some in education. There's consulting, banking, arts, entertainment. So that just kind of helps give you that scope of, oh, there's like a lot of other things that other alumni have done. And down here, you could even look at it by industry. So you can see, let's pick like politics and law. You can just see how many different majors, right, have gone into that. So if nothing else, it's a little comforting. But yeah, another thing I like to show you guys is if you go on LinkedIn and you go to the college page, you can search by alumni. Just put in a job title or a major of something you would want. So let's just do mathematics because that's what you mentioned. We can go down here and see all the, obviously we're gonna have a lot of teachers and stuff like that. But you can go through and just see what different people's positions are within mathematics. And then a lot of times what I like to do too is say you find someone that looks particularly interesting to you. So we'll just pick Austin. I like to work backwards. And so we go, okay, graduated in 2012, then we see, okay, was a teacher for a while, went back, got his master's, and then now he's a teacher. This is a really terrible example because it's a pretty straight line path. But what you're going to find a lot of times is you'll find people that, like Ashley said, I was working with an alum who, went and did the Fulbright, came back to teach for America, and now she's on Wall Street. So, I mean, a lot of different things there. But I'm going to cut my rant, but that's just something I just wanted to show you because I think visually it should hopefully be comforting and some strategies just to see.
Thank you.
And also the what can I do with this major piece will help you. They're not all going to be what you think of as typical math careers. So that could help when you are trying to come up with alternates. Also, like in using Vault, and I'll show you both of these, but in using Vault, you could start off by putting in, a career title that you were initially interested in. But if you scroll to the very bottom, they give you, I would say, easily 50 other careers or career titles that are related or similar to the initial title that you put in. So if anyone else has a question, I will answer that. And while I'm answering that, I'll get this pulled up so that you're able to see it as an example.
Hi, I have a question. My name's Carla. I'm a theater and economics intended double major. And I was wondering, so I'm hoping to get some sort of internship over the summer. And I would love for it to be sort of in the arts organization development type field. But I sort of don't know where to start other than informational interviews and sort of looking on Handshake. What are some like steps I can take now? Because I know, I've got to work on it now so I can get something over the summer. Yeah, just some steps I can take to start looking for internships.
Gotcha. So there is a resource that's created, and I'll show you where to find that when I show Vault and what can I do with this major, but it's the peak recruiting timelines. So that will help to give you an idea of when each industry typically does their recruitment so that you can make sure you're staying on target with those dates. And it's based off of last year. And so there's a chart that will show you how many, internships were posted per month, just to give you an idea. And granted, that's a little different this year due to COVID, but it gives you an idea based off of what the typical year is. Aside from, the informational interviews and looking in Handshake, LinkedIn also has quite a few internship opportunities that are posted in there. And so you are able to use the LinkedIn feature where it says jobs at the very top, type in the industry, the job title, and then you can select intern and you can filter by location. That will give you additional internship postings. Also, each industry cluster in our office has a career resource guide attached to it. And within each career resource, there are typically going to be a list of external sites made available. And those external sites will take you to companies that are specific to those industries, and they will also feature internship opportunities. So that gives you somewhere else to also direct your attention without being overwhelming. Because LinkedIn can be, if you leave it too broad, can be overwhelming with the number of opportunities that are posted. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The informational interviews and connecting, that's going to be your bread and butter. I encourage you to do that even with when you apply for a position. Say you see one on Handshake or you see one on LinkedIn, try and see if we have alums that work at those companies and get connected with them so that they can bring your name up in those spaces. Not sure how many of you know this, but once you do an application, typically it's going to be an online app unless you're emailing a resume and a cover letter. And the first eyes that look at it, it's a computer system, applicant tracking system. So you want to make sure that you are editing your resume and tweaking it, customizing it to fit that role in which you're applying for, paying attention to the job description and the skills that they're looking for, and trying to match your document as closely as possible so that that computer will realize Carla's a good fit. From there, it goes to an entry-level HR person that may not know the ins and outs of the role, but at that point, they'll be able to review your document, and hopefully you move to the next stage in which it goes to someone that has a more focused knowledge of the role in which you're applying. But definitely connect on LinkedIn, regardless of, whether you've done the application or not. But if you do the application, take that extra step, that initiative. And if you can't find a Davidson alum, if you find the recruiter, it just helps them to remember, oh, I did see Carla's information come through. Josh, were you going to say something?
I was going to say another thing, if you're looking for internships, especially like in a slightly more niche area like that, just find some juniors, seniors, and ask them what they've done. I know a lot of students that actually I was working with 2 days ago who she got an internship because her friend was like, oh, I did this. You should definitely like talk to this guy, and just got that direct connection. So I've seen a lot of the cool internships that students have done in those areas. So I know they're out there. But sometimes just stay right at home and ask the people around you, and professors as well, obviously.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
So,
Yeah. And the other last thing is there are some grants specifically for arts. So look into those. I know we have a summer internship grant, and I think I just can't remember the specifics, but there's another one that was created recently, and it's specifically for arts. And Yeah, there's some specific areas there.
Yeah, I've heard about a couple people doing interesting things with those, so I'll look into it. Thank you.
And Lindsay Dolan is in our office, and she is the assistant director for arts among some other categories. And so she would also be someone worth connecting with, especially as you have a more focused, targeted search. So this is the home screen for you in Handshake. And as I mentioned, Vault and what can I do with this major? If you click on the Career Center and click on resources, you will find a variety of resources that our office has created. Some are going to be more generalized resources like networking or how to write a resume or how to navigate LinkedIn or Davidson Connect, both platforms of which have been mentioned today. And then others are going to be more industry specific resources. And so as you are currently trying to explore different careers, what can I do with this major is the one that I mentioned. And so we'll stick with mathematics as a theme. And it'll take you to an external site, hopefully. Oh, okay, here we go, making progress. Okay, so within the external site, there will be an area here, which kind of categorizes it for you. Different opportunities or areas, functional areas to consider. Employers that typically hire for that particular area. Strategies that you could find helpful, and they will be based on trying to enter into that field and find employment. And so just continuing to scroll down, and then there are going to be more generalized information here for you. Employment opportunities. So again, another external site to help you find different opportunities. Professional associations, which, like I said, most will have student rates. And that allows you to network and be in the same space as those that are already in the field. Also, consider joining and following those types of groups on LinkedIn. So if there's a company or a industry that you have an interest in, go ahead and start following those individuals, liking them on LinkedIn, and then some related resources here. As far as Vault is concerned, this is the peak recruiting timelines that I mentioned. It is based off of each industry cluster, and so it'll tell you like full-time opportunities as well as fellowships and internships. But with Vault here, you'll just utilize the link inside the resource. And say, interested in being a mathematician. There's typically a video associated with that particular role. What should I do? I clicked on something. There we go. A video associated so you can watch that and get an understanding. Again, showing you the salary range, minimum education, if there's a certification or license that's required, what that outlook is, career ladder so that you could start planning, like with this one needing a doctorate, where would you start off coming out of school with a bachelor's degree, personality traits. And then, like I said, if you scroll down, you'll find related professions. So you may not have necessarily considered a chemist or a physicist as something that was, or even like information security analyst is something that would be related to a mathematician. So this just gives you additional ways to explore careers. Unions and associations will be here. And then I also always encourage you to check out the tips for entry. Typically have some articles associated that you can read. And then back on that original page that we were on, there's a Q&A. And then they typically have either companies that hire for those types of roles listed and, attached in the search, or a list of companies. Also with the Vault guides, you can find like the best companies for business, or this is really going to give you some cliff notes. So it's worth checking that out as well. Any other questions?
And I did just throw in just a quick Google survey in the chat. If you guys, you don't have to do it right this moment, but if you don't mind filling that out, just so we can get any feedback on things you guys would like to see as well. And if you guys do have questions or things come up as you're looking, definitely, schedule an appointment with Ashley on Handshake. If you're an athlete and you want to meet with myself, you can, but she's also really good with Exploratory. So she's happy to help as well as I am. But on that note, we do have another session at 8, so we're going to wrap it up here. Again, if there's any last questions, we can take those. But if not, we appreciate your time and staying engaged, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.